I would say the idea was percolating. The big idea was percolating probably when I was like 18, when I was in school, because I knew I wanted to move out, and I knew I wanted to move out, and I knew I didn't want to pay rent, and it was as easy as that, right? Like I think, okay, yeah. Another really big key to my success would be the amount of books and media and topics I consume. It's a struggle. Sometimes I get too into watching YouTube and things like that, but I think ultimately, especially things like reading quality books, is worth its weight in gold. And audiobooks have been a huge game changer in terms of being able to communicate things more eloquently, being able to speak to people that are maybe a few levels higher than you in business and still understand where everyone's coming from, being able to relate to ideas and building and seeing that kind of path for your future. And yeah, audiobooks have been a game changer for me. It actually, I can almost remember there was a job I was working on and I had a 40-minute commute, and I would listen to audiobooks on my phone at 2 times the speed. You can kind of go into the settings and change the speed to 2 times. And I was going through about 2 audiobooks a week, just crushing them. So if you can imagine, I did that for about half a year. I ended up consuming like 30 books. I went through Tai Lopez, had his entire course. I went through that whole thing in like under a week. Just a massive amount of knowledge, and it's fun. It gets you pumped up. They're very motivational, inspirational stories all the time. But then on top of that, I think a lot of that knowledge really sticks with you and kind of will help dictate your choices in the future. So I would say, if anything, that is like that is a keystone habit that's really like led to a lot of my motivation, because even to this day, putting in an audiobook or a great podcast gets me fired up, and then even a lot of cool tips that have helped me in the future for sure. My one key piece for sure, learning is amazing, and you can take this to an extreme. Like Tony Robbins classifies his values, his number one value in life is learning, and you can say you learn from every interaction, but you got to look at, there's certain things that will teach you way more than others. Like, do you want to be the guy going out there making a million mistakes, or do you want to have a network of people with reliable information that have gone on the same path as you, which is from networking, learning from people you can network with? Books that will teach you tons and tons of information, podcasts that have tons and tons of things. And it's not even like having one specific point. It's just the constant habit of intaking this good information, this quality information. And I think that is just a game changer in and of itself. It's amazing. You're the sum. The saying is, right, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But I think you could easily extrapolate that further, and you're really the sum of the 5 people that you focus the most attention on. So even if you don't know anyone that's real estate investing, even if you're out in some remote area and you can't talk with anybody, you could still watch YouTube videos from a successful real estate investor, potentially one in London, Ontario, named Matt McKeever, and and get some good information. Okay, well, ultimately, I think it would be, if anything, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, as cliche as that sounds. But I don't think, it was a lot of different things. Rich Dad Poor Dad was definitely the first thing I read where I realized an asset was something that makes you money. And so like that had stuck in me, that I just needed assets, and real estate's an easy asset. I didn't even really, actually, I truthfully initially didn't read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I just looked through it at a chapter's Indigo and just saw like the diagrams. So like that stuck with me a lot though. And then 4-Hour Work Week definitely was huge, because just the fact of like building a business, something you can automate. I'd experimented with online marketing. I'd experimented with SEO. I'd experimented with PPC, like all these online businesses, and ultimately, some of them were great, some of them I made some money in, but ultimately I didn't see the potential for them to scale the amount that real estate could scale, and how easy real estate you can get in, have something, like to build a business that generates you $1,000 a month income, nearly passive. I find that pretty difficult. Maybe some people would argue with me, but I think that's a difficult move. Whereas with real estate, I think it's very doable. And sure, you need a little bit of money to do it, but the money isn't huge. You can definitely leverage your money very well in real estate, which makes it attractive for a lot of reasons. So I would say, yeah, it was a combination of books that definitely got me inspired to do it. I don't really consider myself extraordinary in any way. I think any of the things I can do, anyone else can do. And especially if anyone's interested in having some more info, feel free to reach out to me. I love to teach people and try to share knowledge and just hopefully inspire people to kind of take action. So definitely, yeah, Matt, feel free to leave a link to my Facebook page or anything, and everyone can feel free to hit me up. Other than that, just stay hungry and work hard.